played a little bit off and on when I was in middle school. My uncle played guitar, and he let me have this like Flying V that was way too big for me, and it was like a Dave Mustaine signature copy. And I would play that a little bit, and then I stopped for a long time until like sophomore year when I met Dylan and my friend George, and they had a band called Living Room Gypsies. I was just hanging out with them one day, and they were like, hey, you want to come to one of our practices? And their bass player didn't show up. So they just were like, hey, Anthony, you want to play bass? And I was like, I don't know how, but I can try it. And so Dylan and George just threw in $50 and went and bought me a bass off Craigslist that day. And then I just started playing.
You know, basically in high school, met Dylan, and, we were in drumline practice together, and one day we're just like, you know what? Let's just start playing music. The rest is from there.
Dylan knew Justin, and he called me, and he was like, hey man, I got this guy. He's a great bassist. I play drumline with him a lot. Look forward to you meeting him, but we want to do a band together. And I was like, okay, cool. And we met at a camping thing one night, and ever since then, that was 2013, I think. We were friends then on, so he called me, and then we have our first practice together, and I came from like a job site,
he was like covered in dirt.
Yeah, I was like doing some plumbing and stuff, and just like working under this contractor, so I was under a house all day. Didn't have time to shower. I was like, I don't want to be late to our first practice, so I show up, and I'm like just literally just like, covered with dirt, like head to toe, and they're like, who? Like Justin's like, who is this guy? Like about to hop on here.
Well, I joined Astronomy Club. I think it was like October, the winter time, fall time of 2017. I had known all these guys. They had been my brothers for a while, and ultimately I did meet them through Dylan. I met Dylan through my best friend. His name's Lucas. But I joined because, we needed a keys player. And I think Dylan wanted some backup vocals too. So that's originally kind of what I was doing.
They asked me if I wanted to join the band. I couldn't say no. I always came to the shows. I knew Dylan. I actually didn't go to the same high school that they all went to. I actually met Dylan through my girlfriend Cassidy. It was like late, I think 2014-ish. There was a show at the Manor, which was like the mecca of house shows in this area. And I remember meeting him there for the first time. I think Anthony was there too, and George. And they were just like the coolest guys I ever seen. I was like,
we played the Gnome Home. It was my first show with you guys. The same place it was your all's first show. I was so nervous. I had really long hair at the time, and I just flipped it over my head and hid my face all the time. My hand was shaking like this. I was so nervous. Oh, there's so many people. I had really bad anxiety at the time. I was like, why am I playing in a band if I have really bad anxiety? This is such a bad idea, but Dylan always pushed me to grow as a person and face things that I was uncomfortable with. And it changed my life, meeting him.
One part that kind of always, just kind of burns into my memory is kind of watching Dylan do all the vocal tracks and like seeing all those lyrics like put up on the expo board, and he would just be singing the, all the lyrics just right there that just always, for some reason, has always just stayed with me.
I'm so jealous at how easily Dylan could write lyrics. Like he definitely, he had a mind for it all, obviously. Like he just self-taught. If he set his mind to it, he could learn it just instantly. But like lyrics, it was cool to like see that part of him come out and what he wrote and like the structure of it, and trying to be like that, be like him. Super inspiring.
So Dylan's loss was a tragic one, very unexpected.
It's the hardest year of my life for sure. Like, I don't wish that on my worst enemy, for your best friend to pass away so suddenly and so tragically. And I know, just knowing how many lives he affected, like through his art, through the ambience of his persona, and just who Dylan was, like, yeah, things he would say, he'd do, his creative influence. I don't know, just having a friend like Dylan definitely is life-changing, because he just looks out for you, you know, like he was there in your time of need, and you'd want to do anything you could for him. I don't know, a few things with me, with Dylan. I guess how I always perceived him as just the realest guy I knew. He was always authentic, always striving to be, and it wasn't fake trying to be authentic, you know, like it was who he was, and he could bring that out on the table to anybody, and just being around him and exhibiting the real Dylan, like, all the time was just a privilege. And Anthony told me, because he didn't want me to find out through the news and that kind of thing. I cried for a long time, called my mom, and it's really hard.
When we were working, I just remember weed eating, like doing it, because me, Dylan, and Kick worked together, and I just remember weed eating, and this lady came up to me in a car. I was like, hey, there's a mower flipped over, and she just pointed in an opposite direction where Dylan had been mowing, and I was like, is it just a mower flipped over or something? And she didn't really specify, like, there was someone under it at first or anything. I didn't really know I didn't know what to think at first, and then she left and then came back and was like, I think there's someone underneath it. And so she pointed down there where Dylan was working, and then I started running to the truck to get my phone and stuff, and then I started running back down there, and the lady came back and was like, hey, do you want me to drive you down there? And by that time, Kick had seen that something was going on, and I was like, come on, I think Dylan might be hurt. And then we got there, and that's when we found him under the mower. It just didn't feel real, because even though he was younger than me, he was always like a big brother to me. I just felt very lost. But when I was there and found him and just felt lost and didn't know what to do, I just remembered Titus and Justin and everybody, Daniel and Kick and everybody. And I knew I had to call them because I didn't need to hear from them too and let them know.
I was, sitting at work. I work at the airport in Nashville, and I was just sitting at work and then received a phone call from Anthony. And I know typically Anthony doesn't call me in the middle of the day because he's usually sleeping or something. But when I, had first initially received that call, it honestly didn't feel real at all. I'd never really received a message like that over the phone about, someone who was literally, the brother of my, entire high school life, and, my partner in crime with, music and, all that we've created, and, all that was, behind us, and that all that we've put together. It's just definitely one of the hardest moments I've, ever hit in my entire life. And Titus was so far away. He was in North Carolina, and I called him. I was like, we just got to get you down here. You just need to be here with all of us. But he's what honestly brought us all together so closely.
We wanted to play shows again because, and we wanted to make more music and write more music, and we have. But it's just about, the legacy. There's no way that you can just leave behind the Dylan Graves legacy. And I think if you were to do that, it'd be shameful. So I think that was
Yeah, I agree.
the number one
I think
reason.
the project that he created is truly genius, and yeah, it'd be a tragedy just to let it die. And I know he would want us to experiment with our own things, and while still having that core that he was trying to push for, he wants us to be creative and experimental as possible. So we'll definitely keep going that route. We don't want to stick to the old, or we don't want to stick to any sort of same formula. We always just want to keep reinventing ourselves as best as we can, and I know that's what he would want too.
Honestly, just how we move forward is just, we're just kind of seeing where we're going. We're still kind of, growing in this new chapter of, what Dylan left behind, and we're just doing it, in the spirit of his creativity.
And whatever happens out of that is just...
It's just what happens.
Yeah.
Staying true to his vision.
Do it.
What do I do with my hands?
Whatever you want.
Make them team as big as possible.
Rolling?
It's yell at their customers. Like I said,
JB back there snacking on
it. It's like, if you don't like it, you can get out. It's like,
Get ready to blast off with Astronomy Club. We need a little more excitement. Spirit fingers!
And they want to take your stuff to the car and just leave me alone. I'm just like, I can't deal with it. Just like, stop. No, I promise, it's fine. They like go all the way out. I want to go outside. I'm trapped in here all day.
That's it. Get me out of here.
You pushed me past my limit and now I'm breaking. 'Cause what goes up must come down. We're not standing on solid ground.